from the point of view of practice, your intentions are most critical. So to want to go from a state of discomfort to a state of less discomfort, or to a state of ease and joy, is a fine thing. It's better to live harmoniously than to live disharmoniously. So if your intention in engaging either of these techniques or some kind of meditative or spiritual practice is to find more comfort, you can find ways to do that. And that's better than living in discomfort. If your primary concern is just that, as good as that is, it doesn't investigate the fundamental cause of discomfort, which doesn't have to do, it's something that is more fundamental than your history. And it's something that's essentially human for all of us. It kind of has the formula, I want something and I can't get it, so I'm suffering. And we engage that in ways that can be very visible or very subtle. And certainly for those of us who are engaged in some kind of discipline or spiritual practice, it also has to do with wanting some particular outcome from your spiritual practice and being dissatisfied with it and being discomforted about the dissatisfaction of not getting what you want from something that's supposed to cut through the suffering that comes through getting what you want, so why replicate it? So to use something to create circumstances that are more supportive and nurturing is a good thing. However, circumstances are always changing. And so to the degree that your comfort is primarily dependent upon supportive circumstances, if those supports crumble, then your sense of balance and your sense of harmony and your sense of being rooted in anchors also falls away, and then what can you do? A second kind of thing that people might use a meditation practice for is to gain energy to master a particular situation or to master a particular discipline. So that might be martial arts, that might be some kind of healing practice, that might be some way of engaging directly with people and increasing your perceptiveness about that. It might be an art like music, it might be a profession. If you use a meditation practice to bring your mind to a focus to concentrate more specifically on some specific thing, because you've concentrated on directing your energy to an outcome, that increases the chances that that outcome will happen. And getting outcomes that are supportive and positive and nurturing and propitious for you are better than constantly stumbling over bad outcomes. So there's also nothing particularly wrong with that. However, if you're not investigating why you want what you want and what you do with it when you have it, then you also run the risk of building your house on a foundation that really doesn't exist. And to the degree that you accumulate material things or recognition or fame or friendship, if you fail to accumulate those things, or your technique no longer works, or those things fall apart, then also you feel like there's nothing to hold on to. One could use a meditation practice to get some kind of internal quiet, so that the comings and goings of circumstances don't disturb you so much. And some meditation paths focus on that. And certainly if you rest your mind in a place that has the qualities of stillness and quiet, and you focus on that, you'll generate some sense of that internally. However, to the degree that that's dependent on doing that practice, and to the degree that it doesn't resonate outside of the practice, then you're kind of carrying something with you that falls apart as you're walking through your day and you have to plug in again. Now, plugging in again is good. diligence of effort is important, but to aim specifically at quietude is to deprive yourself of opportunities to engage more fully in things that don't feel like quietude. And so in some ways, you run the risk of boxing yourself into something. If your aim is to develop some kind of understanding, that's also good. And one can use a meditation practice to have some kind of understanding about how things happen, what psychology looks like, what other people look like, and how cause and effect happens. And that's also better than not having that understanding, but to the degree that you're doing that either mechanically or you're relying on somebody else's teaching or somebody else's structures to guide you, better to have that architecture than not to have that architecture, because it supports things that are nurturing and keeps us away from things that are toxic. However, at some point, to the degree that somebody's engaging mechanically or in an overly tight way, or to the degree that you're being casual about something that's important, at that point it doesn't serve you. From the perspective of Zen practice, it's critical to see your own fundamental nature, because when you see that, you also see how phenomenon arise and are sustained, how they fade, and how they change. So if there's some dissatisfaction with how a person engages with their life, they'll be clearer about that if they see their own nature and they see how things arise and are sustained and fade away and changed, because then they'll be guided by something that's not deceived about what they fundamentally are. We have 4 kinds of approaches to that. One approach is to have a meditation space that we call a meditation space. So that's either the Dharma room in our Zen centers, or some other home Sangha that you have, or perhaps if it's a yoga practice or something, you do something intentional in a particular space, in a particular way with your body in order to touch something important. So that's body practice. And that's important to have that kind of discipline. However, when you stand up from your meditation space, your activities change, so your metabolism changes, and then your feeling changes. And for many people, it feels like I've lost something and I can't get it back except by doing that thing over again. That's not untrue, right? Cultivating a particular discipline leaves you with a particular kind of feeling. However, there's an aspect to that that's like this. When you brush your teeth and then you spit the toothpaste into the sink, do you mourn the fact that it's going down the drain? Because you cleaned your teeth and then they're ready for the next thing. So similarly, if there's not some way to sustain the intention that you had when you sat down, then there's something that feels like it's fading and can only be regained by doing one particular thing. In order to sustain the effort that brought you to your discipline in the first place, it's good to discipline yourself outside of that space where you put your body in a specific place to do a specific thing. So that's mind practice. Mind practice simply means this. Take ordinary routine activities and make them practice. Approach them with the same intention that you approach your body meditation, right? So simple, ordinary things that don't require figuring things out happen all day long. For instance, brushing your teeth, washing your face, grooming, washing dishes, folding laundry, stacking plates, or just walking down the street. Often in the midst of those activities, our mind is wandering off elsewhere, but there's no particular reason not to train ourselves to use them to engage fully in the moment. And that creates a certain kind of energy, a certain kind of perspective, and a certain kind of propitious habit that points us more toward living from our fundamental nature, because now we're doing it on purpose over the course of the day. So that's mind practice. If you do body practice and mind practice, then you start to see that ordinary phenomenon already contain the Dharma. They all have their own shape. They have their own length. They have their own color, their own texture, their own sound, their own hardness or softness, their own luster, their own scent, etc., etc., etc. So even in the moment-to-moment change of phenomenon, each particular one is only itself and full as itself. So we say everyday mind is Zen mind. So everyday mind is Zen mind is simple. If you're hungry, eat. If you're tired, sleep. If you see hunger, see it. You may have some response to it. Yeah? When the light is red, stop. When the light is green, look both ways. If the intersection is free, cross. If it's not, wait. So simple kinds of things like that allows us to see the Dharma moment to moment to moment, and to encounter things on their own terms in their own way. When you do that, so that's life practice. If you do body practice, mind practice, life practice, then one other thing becomes clear. All sentient beings are our teachers. When you see all sentient beings as your teacher, then that automatically puts you into the mind frame of a student. And when you're a student, you're engaged and focused and responsive and receptive and humble and grateful and kind and generous. Those kinds of qualities that we wish to cultivate are automatically there in the mind of a student, and every person watching this video has that. It's not something that somebody else gives you, it's something that's inherent in your own nature, and certainly other people can help you see it. So if we look at other beings to see their mind light, then automatically they become our teachers, and automatically we enter into a relationship with each other that's harmonious and balanced and kind and wise. So I would like to encourage you who are watching to find some way to do that. If you have some interest in what this particular approach to Zen offers, please, the door is open. If you don't have an interest in that, there may be something else that feels like a home to you, so please use that home and find it. More important than the particular home you find is to have that anchor and to find a way to bring that intention to life. Thank you.